أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear viewers, brothers, sisters, lovers of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, Salamun alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to the 10-night series on Ahlulbayt TV titled Karbala's Inspiring Spirits, where every episode we look at particular attributes of a certain holy personality that we see in Karbala from which we can learn lessons from. And every episode, inshallah, I will be joined by amazing guests where we will recite Noha's, poetries, Latmiyas together. And inshallah, today's episode is titled Learn Service from Qasim alayhi salam. And I am honored and privileged to be joined by my dear friend, Brother Husein Rajabali. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you doing today, brother?
Alhamdulillah, all good, all good.
Good. Thank you so much for taking the time to come see us today, speak to us today, and inshallah, have a discussion where inshallah we can all benefit.
Inshallah.
Ahsant. So, being a reciter like yourself, both in English and in Urdu, the story of Karbala is close to our hearts. All the personalities. So, looking at today's personality in particular, when you hear the name Shah Qasim or Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam, what runs through your mind?
Hazrat Qasim is a very special personality for me. He's somebody who shows maturity miles beyond his years, and is an example not just for the youth of today, but I think for everyone. He's somebody that demonstrates to me pure taqwa and pure submission to Allah, and knowing that his life is not his, it's Allah's, and everything he does is for Allah's pleasure. And that's incredible for me.
Well, really well put, and that's the ultimate aim for us, to whatever we do, whatever service we do, to ultimately be for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's important to, and I think we'll discuss a point about this as well when it comes to your niyyah, your intention, how important that is, and how sometimes it can get forgotten.
Definitely.
It can get forgotten. So no, thank you so much for that. So I think it would be, with your permission, really nice to hear you start off the show with your recitation,
of course,
with your beautiful voice, inshallah. So do let us know what you're reciting about, and
it's thank you very much. It's a short piece of poetry written from the perspective of Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam, speaking about Hazrat Qasim and Hazrat Ali Akbar, her two nephews, but she views them as her sons, and just what she experienced as she saw them passing. So I'll begin with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
All I see, blood-stained sands, Red Sea, graves of my family, nothing but beauty. Memories break me, my son's gone, help me, nothing but beauty. All I see. Death is sweeter than honey, said a young boy of 13. Couldn't climb on to his horse, yet he will fight for his deen. In his heart I see Hassan, crowned with my brother's turban, praying I don't see it fall, dragged on the ground with his son. Stopping to fix his sandal, brutally struck his temple. Qasim fell down to the earth, I heard him call, Uncle, help me, horses surrounding me, trampling upon me, hooves on hooves, piece by piece. You gather my body, take me to the ladies, nothing but beauty. All see, all I see. At the dawn I heard adhan, memories of Taha, the face of my grandfather. Please come back home to your aunt. See the pain of your father, can't give his son some water. The armor heavy on you, thirst is slowly bleeding you.
Right.
Tongue drier than the sand, yet they all fall by your hand. Till you are struck in your chest, I saw Akbar fall. A spear sat deep in your chest buried, but the one truly pierced was your father's heart. Light of your eyes, darkness, carry your son helpless, nothing but beauty. All I see, all I see, blood-stained sands, Red Sea, graves of my family, nothing but beauty. Memories break me, my son's gone, help me, nothing but beauty. All I see. Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farjum. Thank you so much. Such a heartbreaking piece. Did you write that yourself?
Yeah.
MashaAllah. May Allah bless you. May Allah give more blessings to the pen you write with, inshallah, to come up with more and more words. And bless your parents as well. I know your father's an instrumental part of your journey when it comes to your khidmat. So,
honestly, without him, nothing like this would have ever happened. It was his teaching, his pushing me, and him and my mother and my grandparents embedding that love of Ahlulbayt. That's
absolutely
crucial to this.
SubhanAllah. So, and it's quite apt because we'll be talking about the father of Hazrat Qasim, how he is linked to battle with for Imam Husain alayhi salam. So the first verse, it had the term "death is sweeter than honey," something that people know Shah Qasim, Hazrat Qasim for saying. What does that mean to you personally? Because now that you've written it, so what was the inspiration behind writing that particular line?
That line, I think, is one of my favorite lines from Karbala. Everyone talks about the quotes that sort of resonate with them, and that's one I think that you can take a million meanings from. You know, the more surface level meaning of, you know, for him, death in service is sweeter to him than honey. He would prefer it over honey, which I think in that time was the sweetest thing that you could find.
Yeah.
I've heard more deep interpretations which really resonated, which is that Shah Qasim had such an understanding of Allah's plan and Allah's vision for Karbala and what would be happening, you know, 1400 years afterwards. You know, the fact that it would have such an impact on myself, yourself, and all of our lives as Shia and non-Shia, that to him this death was sweeter than honey because he could see what would come of it. And it's, again, like I think I said earlier, that maturity and understanding and complete submission to Allah's will, which I think is incredible.
Absolutely, and I think that is at the essence of it. Once again, you know, the tawakkul, that trust that you have, that he must have had in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan. You know, he knew this is what he was going towards. And this again, you know, he was the nephew of Imam Husain alayhi salam. And Imam Hussein didn't let him go, as we know in the story, when it was the soldiers were giving their life for Islam. Shah Qasim's turn came, and you know, Imam Hussein told him, "No, you're my nephew. You're the only resemblance of my brother that I have left. You're not going anywhere. You stay here." And that upset him because he wanted to give his life, right? And that's that service, that level of service that he wanted to give towards Allah, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you see him, get upset, and he goes to his mother. And his mother reminds him that your father gave you a ta'weez that he had, in some narrations we say, is tied around his hand. I said, go give that to Imam. So he opens the letter first, and he was happy to read that this was a letter that his father had written for him to Imam Hussein, telling him to let Qasim go and fight. So, and that was the only reason that Imam Hussein, after persuasion, allowed Hazrat Qasim to go. But this brings it back to that niyyah we were talking about, the intention as well. It must have been so powerful from Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam that by hook or crook he was gonna do it. He was gonna get shaheed for the sacrifice for Islam. And that in itself takes dedication, because again, don't forget, like I said, he's a boy of 13. Some narrations say older, some say younger, etc. But at that age, like look at our 13-year-olds right now, 14-year-olds. We don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
Right? I didn't know what was going on at 13. We don't
13,
know.
I was lost.
We were lost. Exactly. We had no idea what life was about. We have, and here is a 13-year-old man who is presented with such a difficult task, yet he's fine about it. He's like, I want to do this. It's sweeter than honey for me, right? So bringing it back to, like, say, what we can learn from Hazrat Qasim, what would you say to, say, the youth of our time today to kind of, give them some lessons about from Hazrat Qasim?
I think there's three major lessons I can take away from Hazrat Qasim's life. The first is that assurity in Allah, that complete submission, to me, is just, I think, the greatest lesson. I know I've said it a couple of times, but
it is that important.
That's how important it is to me. I think when he says death is sweeter than honey, to me it's an equivalence to what Bibi Zainab said when she said, وَمَا أَرَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا.
Absolutely.
I see nothing but beauty. For both of them, and for the entirety of the Ahlulbayt and the companions, they saw Karbala as so much more than what it was. They saw it as Allah's incredible plan, and they had full faith in Allah. And that, to me, is, I think, something I aspire to have. If I had that level of reliance and submission and belief in Allah, then I don't think I'd have any problems in life.
No, you wouldn't.
Or in the hereafter. I think that's incredible to me.
Absolutely.
And I think as an offset of that, then you see his purity of niyyah, like you said, is just an example of his level of service. He was always in service, whether it to be to his family, whether it be to Allah, to people around him. For him, this was his duty. This was what he was meant to do, and it was the way that he was brought up. And that's the last sort of thing I learned from Hazrat Qasim.
Absolutely, yeah.
How he's learnt this from his parents, and it's a real lesson in examples of fatherhood and also childhood. I don't know if that's in the sense that how you as a child can learn from your father, and how as a father you can teach your child.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is, and in fact, in this series, this has come up a few times about family life, because what you see in these personalities, like Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam, it's come from somewhere.
Exactly.
Right? And whenever we see ourselves, we know that whatever we are is a product of our father and our parents and what they've built in us. So Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam's family must have been such that there would be such a beautiful environment in that house in order for him to get to a level, for him to be able to say something like that, that he did, right? For him to be able to have that pure intention to say, by hook or crook, I'm going to go sacrifice my life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here to help my uncle, right? Imam Hussein needs us. I can't just stay here doing nothing. And to the point that my father wants me to as well, right? And so, yeah, you're right. And I think it's important for parents to inculcate that in your children, right? You need to, from their young age, talk about the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, love of Imam Ali alayhi salam, the wilaya, Karbala. Talk to them about things like this. And often, especially when we were growing up, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our madrasa and things like that was seen as a bad guy, right?
Yeah,
because you do this, you get punished. You do this, this will happen to you. This will happen to you. And you build this persona of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be this evil God, when he's not. He's nothing but. He's completely the opposite.
Exactly.
Right? And therefore we should talk to him more about, to our children, more about how much he loves us. And look at all the blessings that we have. And again, Hazrat Qasim displayed this because of that trust he had in him, to know that. Look at the status of Hazrat Qasim now. Look at him, it's incredible, right? And this is what you get when you trust Allah completely.
Completely. I 100% agree. I think Hazrat Qasim is evidence of being brought up in a household that truly loves Allah and has raised him in an environment of love. And you can see that in how willing he is to sacrifice himself. You don't get that kind of loyalty from fear.
Right.
You get that kind of loyalty from truly loving the person, the idea, the religion, the belief, the everything that you're dying for.
Yeah.
Because you see it as a small sacrifice in sort of the greater picture.
In the long term, absolutely, and
Yeah.
and fear is normally a deterrent. So it's
exactly.
used for disciplinary measurements. Agreed. I actually think it's quite good. We had a lot of fear from our parents when we were younger, but it allowed us to be disciplined.
Definitely.
But then you love your parents and you serve your parents because of the love they show.
Exactly.
That's the difference, right? Even in we know in the Day of Judgment there will be three groups of people in terms of their salah, right? You'll be the person who's just like ticking off something that because you have to recite it, you have to. The second group is a businessman who sees it as a transaction with Allah, that I do this, I'll get a Jannah, right? And the third one is the ultimate level to get at, where you pray because you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? And you want to recite because you want to worship Him, because you know how much He loves you. And to get to that level is proof that Allah is a loving Lord. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that group of people. If He was just an evil or a Lord that you feared, you would just deter from the haram, but you wouldn't love worshipping Him. And I think that's something that's important to know. And so, I think if we look at the service of Hazrat Qasim and bring that to our world now, and look at the youth in our community, when it comes to serving the community, doing khidmah, there's so many different ways of doing it. How would you inspire, what would you tell the youth, the people, maybe, and not just the youth, but anybody who's watching, who may have shied away from community service or serving in any nature? How would you inspire them to maybe take a step?
I think Hazrat Qasim gives a phenomenal example of how age is but a number. And, he was a teenager from different, accounts, but still he achieved so much and had such, a surety, such maturity and such willingness to put himself forward. He didn't see himself different from the 40-year-old warriors or the 50-year-old warriors, the experienced Ibn Madahir, he said, no, my sacrifice and what I can give is just as much or maybe even more. And I think our youth need to have that mindset or that approach that it doesn't matter how old I am. If this is something I truly am passionate about, if there's something that I truly believe can make a difference, or is something that I believe I can serve in, then I should do it. And my age shouldn't be a barrier for that. I should never think, I'm too young to for example, be a mukhi for a program, or too young to help serve the food, or small examples within our community, or too young to help in this charity, etc. They should put themselves forward, and I think they'll see incredible results just from putting themselves out there with that confidence. And as long as their niyyah is pure, you'll have amazing results.
I very, very well said. And I think it's very important to take that step and to know that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed you with, whatever strength you may have, it may be something you're good at speaking, public speaking. Use that speech to serve your community in whatever way, even if it's like that mukhi role, which is the one who makes the announcements at the mosques and things. We normally see that given to an older person, right? An elder, maybe an experienced individual. But there's no harm. Maybe bringing in a younger voice will bring a different change into the whole thing. The people, it's a nice role to have. And imagine if you start there, and because of that role, you've developed your public speaking skills, your delivery on your speech. Imagine where it could take you. You could be on TEDx programs and stuff like that, right? Because you don't know where. If your niyyah is pure, Allah will give you barakah, right?
100%.
You do. How many times have you seen? You do charity, Allah will give you 100 times more, right? And this is you serving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, serving in the way of the Ahlulbayt alayhi salam, which is infinite reward.
100%.
Infinite reward. So I think what you say is very important in the sense that if you have something or you have something you're passionate about, use it to serve. And you will find something. That even if you like playing football, for example, or organizing events, organize a fundraiser for your mosque, or organize something for charity, or get in the committee to help organize events. They could really use your expertise. And again, it doesn't matter how old you are. Absolutely it doesn't. Because if you were like a 13, 14-year-old, you could serve your age group in a way that probably a 50-year-old wouldn't understand.
Completely.
Times are changing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I don't know what today's 15, 16-year-olds are saying, because they just say different stuff. They communicate in a completely foreign way to me, right? But if I had a 15-year-old in my team, for example, if I was in a committee, I could rely on them to tell me, give me the intel that I needed. So yeah, no, I think that's very valuable indeed.
And the youth have a different energy about them. Like the younger guys, they have this different mindset approach. They have this spark that also inspires everyone else around them. And I would tell them, don't put yourself down. Empower yourselves to go out and do more.
And this is a good point, actually, putting yourself down, that you say, because a lot of people do. Unfortunately, a lot of people, just because, say if they had an idea and then they go to the committee, and sometimes the committee says no, and they may have their reasons. Okay, it's important not to get disheartened, because a lot of people do and just think, oh, I'll leave it then. I'm not going to do it, because it shouldn't be like that.
Exactly.
You should never give up. If you, like you said, you keep your intention pure, then for sure Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide you. And I think that for sure is important. And again, going back to Shah Qasim, he was at a young age. Just think of his loyalty as well, right? His loyalty to his parents. Now, if we take another lesson from him, from that letter itself, it was him obeying his father. His father had written a letter to say, go fight, give this letter to Imam Husein. And this was obedience on his part. And I think that's something we can take heed of from today, because even our parents, they try to guide us. They only want the best for us. But sometimes we don't listen. So what would you tell those youth?
I think Shah Qasim's example is again amazing, because this isn't just him listening to his father that's standing in front of him telling him go fight. This is his father who sadly passed away years before, when he was at the young age of 3. And still Shah Qasim sees that letter and he knows the importance of those words, and he knows the importance of his father, and he listens to them without hesitance. It's incredible. And I think the youth of today, myself included, can learn massive lessons from there about appreciating the knowledge that your fathers have, the experience both of your parents have, and sometimes it's important to just listen and to follow, and you'll understand the reasoning afterwards.
Later. But this is the difficult part, right? It's difficult to trust something that you can't see.
Exactly.
Right? You don't know. So you don't, for example, say you're 25, 30, 35, and your parents are guiding you to do something. You're now your own man, or you're your own woman, and you'd be like, well, I don't see your logic in this. They probably have that knowledge, but something stops us. Something stops us. Unfortunately, I think we especially Western society now, the way children are, it's almost like, don't listen to your parents.
There's some pride or arrogance that's sort of there in the background.
Exactly, and it's sad, because it's a dangerous time. I mean, having children, 2 of my own little ones, raising them in this world is tough. It's a challenge. It's a real challenge, and you really need to now put your heads together as a couple and really figure a way out how to bring them up in a religious environment, to ignore or at least not take to gospel what they're taught in school, but rather know that our foundations at home are more important. So no, absolutely. So as we come to the towards the end of the show, with your permission, I'll recite a noha on Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam, where we know, we hear in riwayat and in through the majalis how tragically he passed away. It wasn't just a case of a spear and then that was enough, but not for the enemies, especially for this particular body. We hear of the enemies actually making an order to trample this body, and we hear his body went from A to B to C, just flying. You can only imagine the harm and the strain on that body and on his parents. Imam Hassan still looking from above, right? Bibi Farwa is right. We don't know what's going through their minds, and then there's some riwayat that say that his body had to be gathered
within the
in a piece of cloth and abba, and then brought. Imagine the difficulty that the family of Hazrat Qasim had to face. So inshallah, just a noha in his honor, inshallah. Start with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And this particular piece is about his mother, Farwa. Is crying out to Qasim, where are you? Because obviously he's been everywhere. He's, so this is basically what inshallah we will be reciting. فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں ہے سر بری دلاشے ہے سر بری دلاشے اور ہر طرف دھواں فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں ہے میرے لیے یہ منظر قیامت سے کم نہیں میرے لیے یہ منظر قیامت سے کم نہیں پیاسوں کی سسکیاں پیاسوں کی سسکیاں ماں کی ہے فغاں فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں ہے ٹکڑے سمیٹ کر جو گھٹڑی میں لے کے آئے ٹکڑے سمیٹ کر جو گھٹڑی میں لے کے آئے ہر میں نے پنجتن میں ہر میں نے پنجتن میں تھا موت کا سما فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں اور رسی میں ہے گلا بازو بندھے ہوئے ہیں رسی میں ہے گلا بازو بندھے ہوئے ہیں پیاسی تڑپ رہی ہے پیاسی تڑپ رہی ہے دیکھو وہ سکینہ فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں فروا پکارتی ہے میرے لال ہو کہاں والمحمد وآل محمد صلوات Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. With that, Husein, thank you so much for taking your time. I know these times are busy, especially leading in the nights of Muharram. Thank you so much for taking your time, blessing us with your presence and your beautiful recitation. Just before, inshallah, we close, what are your final thoughts that you would like to advise our viewers watching, taking lessons from Hazrat Qasim alayhi salam?
Thank you, Rahman, for your beautiful recitation, honestly.
Inshallah, it's accepted.
Inshallah, Allah keeps you reciting for many years to come.
Ameen. Thank you so much.
Your children are blessed as well.
Inshallah, Ameen. Thank you.
Shah Qasim, to me, I think the most important lesson I can learn from him, I've said it a few times, is that taqwa, that belief, that knowing that God's plan is there and that submission to Allah. That's, I think, the most important thing I can learn from him. And I think he's one of the characters in Karbala that exemplifies that message.
Absolutely.
And for me, that's what I learned from him. And I think for the youth, he's a glowing example of how to serve your family, your religion, your community, and how to serve with sincerity and with full obedience.
Ahsant, amazingly put. And inshallah, we can take heed of the discussion today. I've definitely learnt something. Thank you so much, as I'm sure the viewers have. Thank you once again to our dear viewers, brothers and sisters, for tuning in. And inshallah, I pray that so far the episodes of Karbala's Inspiring Spirits have been of benefit. Inshallah, please keep us all in your du'as. Please, inshallah, pray all our ibadah is accepted. And do tune in tomorrow for another episode of Karbala's Inspiring Spirits. Until then, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.